Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines.
President Donald Trump has said that he does not expect a full-scale conflict with Iran, despite recent military exchanges. Speaking after the NATO summit, Trump said any further escalation would be brief and claimed it would ultimately improve regional security and oil supplies. He also repeated his claim that he is Iran's #1 assassination target. President Donald Trump has said that the United States will carry out more strikes on Iran tonight, warning that Tehran will be hit very hard. Talking to reporters in Ankara, Trump claimed that recent US attacks destroyed Iranian radar systems and warned that Washington could also target power stations and desalination plants if needed. He also said the US is considering reimposing a naval blockade on Iran while targeting Iranian fast attack boats.
US President Donald Trump has announced that the Memorandum of Understanding signed with Iran to end the conflict is over after Washington launched fresh military strikes on Tehran and revoked a license allowing Iranian oil sales. Speaking ahead of a NATO summit in Ankara, Trump said he did not want to engage further with Iran as the fragile interim ceasefire agreement continued to unravel. He used harsh language for Iranian leaders, calling them scum and sick people. Trump said, as far as he was concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them.
Iran has warned the United States against any military invasion, saying not a single American soldier will return alive. Iranian official Ebrahim Rezaiei was responding to President Donald Trump's threats of further strikes. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei accused Washington of violating the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, saying the US had undermined commitments linked to security in the Strait of Hormuz and warned it would continue defending its national interests.
On the other hand, Iran has warned that any US base used to carry out attacks against the country will be targeted by its military. In a statement, the Iranian Foreign Ministry said Washington's actions violated the first article of the Memorandum of Understanding and had made key parts of the agreement meaningless. The ministry said its response came after what it described as illegal US attacks. It said Washington would bear full responsibility for the serious consequences of the current escalation.
Pakistan has urged the United States and Iran to honor their commitments under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding as tensions in the Middle East rise. The Foreign Office called for restraint, dialogue and diplomacy, saying renewed conflict would serve no one's interests. Islamabad also reaffirmed its readiness to continue playing a mediating role between Washington and Tehran.
The United States has launched a major new round of strikes on Iran, hitting more than 80 targets in and around the Strait of Hormuz after Washington accused Tehran of attacking commercial ships in the key global trade route. Iranian media reported that President Masoud Pezeshkian has cut short his visit to Iraq after the US attacks and returned to Iran. Iranian media also claimed that several people were injured by shell fragments from an enemy projectile at the commercial port of Sirik. The injured were transferred to a hospital in Minab. A fire was also reported at a fishing pier in Bandar Abbas, where several boats were affected. Iranian media said black smoke in the area was caused by enemy projectiles. In retaliation, Iran says it launched missile and drone attacks on US military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. Iran's top joint military command, Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, condemned the US strikes as a blatant act of aggression and warned that Iranian armed forces would deliver a crushing response. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said its naval and aerospace forces carried out a joint missile and drone operation against key US military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. According to the IRGC, 85 locations were targeted, including US military bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. On the other hand, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has said that the new attacks by the US on Iran were absolutely necessary. He told reporters before a summit of NATO leaders in Ankara that Iran was violating that ceasefire that makes it totally crucial that the US forcefully react. Rutte also said there could be no doubt over the complete commitment of the United States to NATO, which he said also works to protect the United States.
President Donald Trump has said that the United States will grant Ukraine a license to manufacture Patriot missiles. Meeting President Volodymyr Zelensky at the NATO summit, Trump described the Patriot as a defensive weapon and said Washington could pressure manufacturers to increase production. Zelensky has repeatedly sought more Patriot systems to counter Russian missile attacks.
US President Trump has said that he ordered Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to cut off all trade with Spain, calling Madrid a terrible partner in NATO. Speaking alongside NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte at the start of the summit in Ankara, Trump said he wanted no business with Spain. He told Rutte that Spain doesn't agree to anything and should not be carried by the rest of the alliance. Meanwhile, the Spanish Prime Minister's office said Madrid was taking Trump's comments calmly and treating them as business as usual. The statement said Spain had no intention of changing its excellent social, cultural, and economic relationship with the United States.
Pakistan's security forces have reportedly killed 54 terrorists in retaliatory operations following 3 major attacks in Balochistan. Addressing a press conference, ISPR Director General Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry said that 42 civilians and security personnel were martyred in the attacks. He said operations in Ziarat, Mangi Dam, Karan, Dalbandine, and along the N25 highway eliminated the attackers. He also criticized India for backing the violence and said that Afghan nationals operating from Afghan territory were involved in the attacks.
Law enforcement agencies in the United States, Canada, and Europe have arrested 24 defendants linked to 3 India-based transnational organized crime groups accused of carrying out violence, extortion, drug trafficking, and other crimes across the world. According to the US Justice Department, 37 defendants have been charged across 3 indictments unsealed by federal authorities. The arrested suspects include 11 in California, 1 in Indiana, and 1 in Georgia. 3 defendants were arrested in Canada, 1 in Spain, while 7 were already in custody before the latest law enforcement operation. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.